Hi, this is Kendall Boyson, professional life and recovery coach, and you're listening to Encouragementology, the practice of instilling hope. Hi there. Thanks for joining me. On this show, we are exploring the science behind joy and how to cultivate it as we strive to understand happiness. You might have figured out by now that it isn't always as easy as turning that frown upside down. And faking it until you make it can involve a lot of lying and manipulation, leading to dishonesty with yourself. Finding happiness isn't just about feeling good. It's about living a fulfilling life. Understanding what truly makes us happy helps us navigate the ups and downs, making every day a bit brighter. By exploring the science of happiness, we can learn practical ways to cultivate joy and contentment in our lives. It's not about chasing some perfect, blissful state. It's about finding what really matters to us and making space for it. And when we do that, not only do we feel better, but we also become better equipped to handle whatever life throws our way. So let's dive into what happiness really means and how we can all bring a little more of it into our lives. By now you've figured out I'm a pretty positive person, but it's a choice and not something that has always come easily. I've had my share of strife, complex challenges, and downright trauma, but I choose not to live there. You're right, that's not as easy as it sounds either. To overcome and move on, I had to come face to face with any and all challenges, take personal responsibility, offer myself forgiveness, and decide to let it go in order to move on. Now that's a journey, but the learning is important and the freedom it provides, priceless. That doesn't mean that I don't get down or have off days. A good 24-hour pity party can be as detoxing as a super cleanse, but I don't stay there. A therapist once said, it's okay to invite in sadness, even to let it stay for a while. But then you have to be willing to ask it to leave. It's hard to recognize or be grateful for happiness without a bit of suffering, so we will have to cover both sides of the coin. Dr. Nicole Celestine helps us understand the science of happiness in Positive Psychology 101, found at Positive Psychology. Happiness has been a human pursuit for as long as we can remember, and positive psychology has taken this concept into the realm of scientific research in hopes of gaining better understanding of global well-being and meaningful living. Whether on a global or an individual level, the pursuit of happiness is one that is gaining traction and scientific recognition. There are many definitions of happiness, but first, let's think of a time when you were happy. Were you alone? With others? Inside? Outside? We're going to attempt to learn some strategies, and then I want you to revisit that memory. By then, you may have new insight as to what made that moment happy, as well as tips to train your brain towards more happiness. In general, happiness is understood as the positive emotions we have in regards to the pleasurable activities we take part in through our daily lives. Pleasure, comfort, gratitude, hope, and inspiration are all examples of positive emotions that increase our happiness and move us to flourish. In scientific literature, happiness is referred to as hedonia, the presence of positive emotions and the absence of negative emotions. In a more broad understanding, human well-being is made up of both hedonic and eudaimonic principles, the literature on which is vast and describes our personal meaning and purpose in life. Research on happiness over the years has found that there are some contributing correlating factors that affect our happiness. These include personality type, positive emotions versus negative emotions, attitudes towards physical health, social class and wealth, attachment and relatedness, goals and self-efficiency, time and place. So what is the science of happiness? This is one of those times when something is exactly what it sounds like. It's all about the science behind what happiness is and how to experience it, what happy people do differently, and what we can do to feel better. This focus on happiness is new to the field of psychology. For many decades, basically since the foundation of psychology as a science in the mid to late 1800s, the focus was on the less pleasant in life. The field focused on pathology, on the worst-case scenario cases, on what could go wrong in our lives. Although there was some attention paid to well-being, success, and high functioning, the vast majority of funding and research was dedicated to those who were struggling the most, those with severe mental illness, mental disorders, or those who had survived trauma and tragedy. While there's certainly nothing wrong with doing what we can to raise up those who are struggling, there is an unfortunate lack of knowledge about what we can do to bring us all up to a higher level of functioning and happiness. Positive psychology changed all of that. Suddenly, there was space at the table for a focus on the positive in life, for what thoughts, actions, and behaviors make us more productive at work, happier in our relationships, and more fulfilled at the end of the day. The science of happiness has opened our eyes to a plethora of new findings about the sunny side of life. For instance, we've all learned a lot about what happiness is and what drives us. Recent studies have shown us that money can only buy happiness up to about $75,000. After that, it has no significant effect on our own emotional well-being. Most of our happiness is not determined by our genetics, but by our experiences and our day-to-day lives. Trying too hard to find happiness often has the opposite effect and can lead us to being overly selfish. Pursuing happiness through social means, like spending more time with family and friends, is more likely to be effective than other methods. The pursuit of happiness is one place where we should consider ditching the SMART goals. It may be more effective to pursue vague happiness goals more than specific ones. Happiness makes us better citizens. It is a good predictor of civic engagement in the transition to adulthood. Happiness leads to career success, and it doesn't have to be natural happiness. Researchers found that experimentally enhancing positive emotions also contributed to improved outcomes at work. There is a linear relationship between religious involvement and happiness. Higher worship service attendance is correlated with more commitment to faith, and commitment to faith is related to greater compassion. Those more compassionate individuals are more likely to provide emotional support to others, and those who provide emotional support to others are more likely to be happy. There's been a ton of research on the effects of happiness in the workplace. Much of it's driven by companies who want to find a way to improve productivity, attract new talent, and get a dose of good publicity all at the same time. After all, who wouldn't want to do business with a company who is full of happy employees? Although the jury is still out on exactly how happy employees should be for maximum productivity, efficiency, and health, we have learned a few things about the effects of a happy workplace. People who are happy with their jobs are less likely to leave their jobs, less likely to be absent, and less likely to engage in counterproductive behaviors at work. People who are happy with their jobs are more likely to engage in behavior that contributes to a happy and productive organization, more likely to be physically healthy, and more likely to be mentally healthy. Happiness and job performance are related, and the relationship likely works in both directions, i.e., happy people do a better job, and people who do a good job are more likely to be happy. Unit or team level happiness is also linked to positive outcomes, including higher customer satisfaction, profit, productivity, employee turnover, and a safer work environment. In general, a happier organization is a more productive and successful organization. To sum up the findings we have so far, it's easy to see that happiness at work does matter for individuals, for teams, and for organizations overall. We don't have all the answers about exactly how the relationship between happiness and productivity works, but we know that there is a relationship there. Lately, many human resource managers, executives, and other organizational leaders have decided that knowing there's a relationship is good enough evidence to establish happiness-boosting practices at work, which means that we have a lot of opportunities to see the impact of greater happiness at work in the future. Research in this field is booming, and new findings are coming out all the time. Here are a few of the most interesting facts and findings so far. Happiness is linked to lower heart rate and blood pressure, as well as healthier heart rate variability. Happiness can also act as a barrier between you and germs. Happier people are less likely to get sick. People who are happier enjoy greater protection against stress and release less of the stress hormone cortisol. Happy people tend to experience fewer aches and pains, including dizziness, muscle strain, and heartburn. Happiness acts as a protective factor against disease and disability, in general, of course. Those who are happiest tend to live significantly longer than those who are not. Happiness boosts our immune system, which can help us fight and fend off the common cold. Happy people tend to make others happier as well, and vice versa. Those who do good feel good. A portion of our happiness is determined by our genetics, but there's still plenty of room for attitude adjustments and happiness-boosting exercises. Smelling floral scents, like roses, can make us happier. Those who are paid by the hour may be happier than those on salary. However, these findings are limited, so take them with a grain of salt. Relationships are much more conducive to a happy life than money. Happier people tend to wear bright colors. It's not certain which way the relationship works, but it can't hurt to throw on some brighter hues once in a while, just in case. Happiness can help people cope with arthritis and chronic pain better. Being outdoors, especially near the water, can make us happier. The holidays can be a stressful time, even for the happiest among us. An estimated 44% of women and 31% of men get the holiday blues. Happiness is contagious. When we spend time around happy people, we're likely to get a boost of happiness as well. Feeling stressed after a long day of work? Treat yourself to a bubble bath. Feeling blue? Treat yourself to a decadent dessert. Feeling frustrated after an argument with a friend? Skip your workout and have an extra scoop of ice cream. The message is clear. If you want to feel happy, you should focus on your own wishes and desires. Yet, this is not the advice that many people grew up hearing. Indeed, most of the world's religions and grandmothers everywhere have long suggested that people should focus on others first and themselves second. Psychologists refer to such behavior as prosocial behavior, and many recent studies have shown that when people have a prosocial focus, doing kind acts for others, their own happiness increases. But how does this prosocial behavior compare to treating yourself in terms of your happiness? And does treating yourself really make you feel happy? Here's some research from Nelson answering these questions. Participants were divided into 4 groups and given new instructions each week for 4 weeks. One group was instructed to perform random acts of kindness for themselves, like going shopping or enjoying their favorite hobby. The second group was instructed to perform acts of kindness for others, like visiting an elderly relative or helping someone carry groceries. The third group was instructed to perform acts of kindness to improve the world, like recycling, donating to charity. The fourth group was instructed to keep track of their daily activities. Each week, the participants reported their activities from the previous week, as well as their experience of positive or negative emotions. At the beginning, the end, and again 2 weeks after the 4-week period, participants completed a questionnaire to assess their psychological flourishing. As a measure of overall happiness, the questionnaire included questions about psychological, social, and emotional well-being. The results of the study were striking. Only participants who engaged in pro-social behavior demonstrated improvements in their psychological flourishing. Participants who practiced pro-social behavior demonstrated increases in positive emotions from week to week. In turn, these increases in feelings such as happiness, joy, and enjoyment predicted increases in psychological flourishing at the end of the study. In other words, positive emotions appeared to have been a critical ingredient linking pro-social behavior to increases in flourishing. But what about the people who treated themselves? They did not show the same increases in positive emotions or psychological flourishing as those who engaged in acts of kindness. In fact, people who treated themselves did not differ in positive emotions, negative emotions, or psychological flourishing over the course of the study. The research doesn't say that we shouldn't treat ourselves, show ourselves some self-love when we need it, or enjoy our relaxation when we have it. However, the results of this study strongly suggest that we're more likely to reach greater levels of happiness when we exhibit pro-social behavior and show others kindness through our actions. Joy, like other emotions, is a complex interplay of neurological, psychological, and social factors. Here's a breakdown of the science. Number 1, neurology of joy. Joy is closely linked to the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a significant role in our reward system. When we experience something pleasurable or rewarding, dopamine is released, making us feel good. Endorphins are the body's natural painkillers and stress relievers. They're released during activities like exercise, laughter, or even eating certain foods, contributing to feelings of joy. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, is released during social bonding activities like hugging, spending time with loved ones, or acts of kindness. It enhances feelings of connection and joy. 2, psychological factors. Positive psychology studies what makes life worth living. Researchers have identified key components of joy like gratitude, mindfulness, and optimism. Practicing these can increase our overall sense of well-being and joy. Flow state. Have you ever heard of that? Joy often arises when we're fully engaged in an activity we enjoy, losing track of time and self-consciousness. Have you ever been in that state before where you're just so happy and you're just kind of in the current? This state, known as flow, is associated with deep satisfaction and happiness. Number 3, social and environmental influences. Strong, positive relationships are one of the most consistent predictors of happiness. Sharing joyful moments with others amplifies our experience of joy. Our surroundings also play a role, so being in nature, experiencing beauty, or even living in a supportive community can boost our sense of joy. Number 4, evolutionary perspective. From an evolutionary standpoint, joy has played a critical role in human survival. Positive emotions like joy help us build social bonds, find meaning in life, and motivate us to pursue goals and engage in activities that ensure our survival and well-being. And number 5, cultivating joy. Remember, gratitude, regularly reflecting on what you're thankful for, can increase feelings of joy. You can do this every day waking up. Just start with one small thing and build upon it. Mindfulness. Being present in the moment allows us to fully experience and appreciate joyful moments. And of course, acts of kindness. Doing something kind for others often leads to a helper's high, a burst of joy from knowing you've made a positive impact. The science behind joy reveals that it's not just a fleeting emotion, but a powerful, essential part of our well-being. By understanding and intentionally cultivating joy, we can enhance our lives and the lives of those around us. I think it's important to surround yourself with people who speak life into you. Take a moment and consider this thought, and pan out in your world to look at your circle. Are you being lifted up and poured into? Or are you doing all the heavy lifting, depleting all your resources? It's okay to want to be needed, but it's another thing to be the only one putting in the effort. You have a choice in your own happiness. While we may not have complete control over our emotions or circumstances, we do have a significant influence over our happiness. And this comes through our mindset, our actions, and our habits. Here's a breakdown. Circumstances versus mindset. Many external factors like health, relationships, and financial stability contribute to happiness. While we can't always control these, how we respond to them is within our control. A positive mindset can greatly influence our happiness. Remember, gratitude, optimism, and reframing negative situations can help us choose a happier perspective, even in challenging circumstances. Research shows that about 40% of our happiness is influenced by intentional activities, like exercising, nurturing relationships, and practicing that mindfulness. Choosing to engage in these activities can boost happiness. So 40% is based on intentional activities. You have to take the first step. Techniques like focusing on positive experiences or challenging negative thoughts can help us cultivate happiness by changing how we perceive and react to life's events. Developing resilience helps us boost back from adversity and maintain a sense of well-being. Intentionally choosing to build resilience can lead to greater happiness in the long run. Hedonic adaptation. This is the tendency to return to a baseline level of happiness after positive or negative events. While we can't stop this process, we can choose to continuously seek out new sources of joy and meaning to maintain and boost our happiness. Believing that happiness is a choice gives us a sense of agency and empowerment, motivating us to take steps towards a more fulfilling life. It's right there. You can grab it. It's a choice. But it's important to recognize that not all aspects of happiness are within our control. So, factors like mental health issues or significant life changes can make choosing happiness more difficult. In these cases, seeking support and understanding the complexities of happiness can be more helpful than simply viewing it as a choice. So, while we may not be able to choose happiness in every moment, we can make choices that contribute to a happier life. This involves adopting a positive mindset, engaging in activities that bring joy, and developing resilience to life's challenges. While we can't always choose to be happy in the face of life's difficulties, we can make choices that move us closer to a happier state over time. I think that's a good time to take our second musical break. We are going to listen to a word from our sponsors. Remember, WDBX is 100% loyal listener supported. So if you're a business or organization and you have a message to get out to our listeners, get in touch with us at info@wdbx.org. Be right back. You're listening to Encouragementology on WDBX 91.1 FM Carbondale. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are understanding happiness and the science behind joy and how to cultivate it. And before the break, we talked about our responsibility, the intention of making a choice to move in that direction. Right, we're having a bad day. Maybe we're having a bad month or year. Can we flip a switch? Maybe not. But what we can do is we can start researching these things that we can start pouring into our lives, the things that we can control, the people that we involve ourselves with, the things that we let into our personal space and into our mind. We have to take ownership over that, and we have to take personal responsibility for our own well-being. Now, we all know the humor of Jim Carrey. Maybe some of you know his sensitive side or his thoughtful side. But on the Absolute Motivations YouTube channel, I found Jim Carrey, How to Find Happiness in Life, a chilling speech. Let's take a listen.
You're on a spiritual journey, period. And we're all going to end up in the same place, if there is such a thing.
I used to be a guy who was experiencing the world, and now I feel like the world and the universe experiencing a guy.
All we really yearn for is our own absence. I don't want anything. That's the craziest thing, and it's the weirdest thing to say, where I have no ambition. Somewhere in the middle of absolute confusion, absolute disappointment, the fruition of all of my dreams, standing there with everything anybody else had ever dreamed about having, and being unhappy.
You know, it's not Jim Carrey who can walk down the street just doing anything he wants to and get away with it because nobody knows you. You know, after a while, hopefully it'll be to the point where I can't walk out in the street. Won't that be fun? where it'll be impossible to walk anywhere without being recognized.
You're supposed to say, you know, we're important. You're supposed to say, it's all going to be all right. You're supposed to say, whatever you dream can come true. So I do believe in manifestation, the power of that kind of stuff, but I don't believe that any of it matters.
All spirituality is about relieving suffering.
You know, everything is divine. There's no thing that isn't divine. Everything is divine, and I'm that.
You go to the office and you put a monkey suit on and you act a certain way and you say a certain thing and you lie through your teeth at times and you do whatever you need to do to look like a winner. And then at some point of your life you have to go, I don't care what it looks like. And I'm gonna face the abyss of not knowing whether that's gonna be okay with everybody or not.
The feeling of wholeness is a different feeling than meanness.
I don't exist, so they're all characters that I played. I played the guy that was free from concern so that people who watched me would be free from concern.
Just like the movie, they try to drown you in the middle of that abyss. They go, no, be the other guy. You told us you were this guy. You know, no one can live with that forever.
They're like, I don't want to be me either, you know. And I go, well, look, great, because you never have been. I mean, it looks great when you got a cool car and you got nice clothes and you've done something that people admire. It's not where happiness comes from. Everybody walks around and they go like, why am I depressed?
Well, it's because you're trying to be something for the world. And as soon as you let that go, better things happen.
And I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this amazing feeling of freedom. I was no longer a fragment of the universe. I was the universe.
Depression only happens when you're playing a character. So when I tried to go back and play Jim Carrey, I got depressed. You're going to have to either let that creation go and take a chance on being loved or hated, or you're going to have to kill who you really are and fall into your grave grasping onto a character that you never were. My father was not only the funniest man in the room, but he was a fantastic saxophone player. And before I was born, he had an orchestra in Toronto. But, in order to be something special, you had to leave Canada and come down to the States and prove yourself in the States. He was a little bit afraid of that transition, and also he had a family to take care of, so he became an accountant. And as time wore on, it wore him down, and he got a little bit bitter, especially when he lost his job when he was 51. That really broke him. Not only was he compromising to raise a family, but when you compromise and you fail, it really hurts. It hurts even more than failing at what you love.
So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it.
I would visualize things coming to me that I wanted or whatever. At that time, all it really was for me was making me feel better. I would drive home and think, well, I do have these things. They're out there. I just don't have a hold of them yet, but they're out there.
But it's important, especially for me, I would never show up anywhere if I didn't understand that everyone was broken in some way. Because ultimately, we're not the avatars we create. We are the light that shines through.
The happy place is realizing that you're everything and that there's no real you involved in the first place. I have sadness and joy and elation and gratitude beyond belief, but all of it is what spins around the planet. It doesn't sit on me long enough to kill me.
How will you serve the world? What do they need that your talent can provide? That's all you have to figure out. As someone who's done what you're about to go and do, I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is.
Wow, some powerful thoughts there. In the beginning, I mentioned the dangers of faking it until you make it. Let's explore that just a little bit more. I think when you use a term like that, what you're doing is you're waiting for something to happen. Fake it till you make it. How do you make it? Is that with intention? Or are you just waiting for something miraculously to happen to you? For joy to just get dumped into your life? You see, I think joy is inside of you. But I think that we have a lot of baggage and things that we have preventing the joy from coming out. So if we can take a look at it that way, as joy is not something we're going to grab and put into ourselves, but instead something that's in us where we have to spend time removing the barriers. What's preventing you from feeling joy? Not from finding it, since it's inside of you, but actually from feeling it. If you start looking at your life, what is it that is taking your mind space, taking your heart, causing you the most stress? Now, some of us may say, oh, work, it's so stressful. Money, it's so stressful. But we can't put a blanket blame on something like that, but we have to dig in deeper. What about that? What's preventing you from feeling freedom there? Is there something that you can do, a small change in your practice, in order to deal with your job better, relate with your coworkers better, spend your money more wisely, cut out things that aren't healthy for you? There are things that you can do to change your circumstances. And your circumstances, if they are negatively affecting your life, are preventing your joy from coming forward. Those are the things that we need to take out, evaluate, maybe reorganize, and let go of some things. So again, it starts with you. You have a chance to actually make the changes you want to see in your life. It starts with you. Terry Kozlowski shares some strategies around how to take responsibility, to edit your life, and practical ways to do it, found on LinkedIn. Terry says, "Nothing about my story or your story is set in stone. I can review the chapters of my life and emphasize the events that mattered. Although they may still play a significant role in my story, the themes of grief and self-control have grown from challenges to victories. A shy girl's challenges were not failures, but a story of how she survived in the only manner she knew how. The woman's turmoil and anguish served as the fuel that shaped her into a better, stronger person. With the advantage of hindsight, I can now see how characters that looked crucial were just supporting actors, comic relief, and sitcom bad guys. I may remove anything that makes little sense, doesn't forward my life, or doesn't advance my character. My life is a narrative. This is my tale. And I've never felt awful about deleting things in favor of clarity, coherence, and consistency. Why did I spend so much time clinging to the little things that take away from what matters most in my story? Perhaps it's time to edit a little harsher going forward. It takes dedication and practice to achieve the life you desire. You're not expected to get everything right the first time. Every relationship, undertaking, and success follows a logical path. It doesn't matter if you take a misstep. What matters is whether you will try again. Making a change of your own free will require bravery on your part. To declare, this is not the life I wanted, so I'm going to start again, takes courage. People who are critical of this probably wish they could do it themselves. Making a compromise is a simple solution many pose as a choice, and many frequently mistake what they genuinely want for serenity and comfort as the idea of settling. Those who edit their lives believe it entitles them to the lives they desire. Even if they have to put in a lot of effort, they think they're deserving of having loving relationships, fulfilling lives, and the ability to realize all of their aspirations. They move forward because they already feel deserving of it. Admitting that you were mistaken for the first time requires wisdom. Simply put, many people don't change their lives because they don't want to suffer by hearing the ego chatter about failing. Everything is about evolution and expansion. Whatever your daily practice is, you'll get better at it. The small moments in your life will add up to make up your entire existence. Edit your life so it goes in the direction you want. thorough edit assists you in seeing every aspect of your life as it is right now, which is a crucial step toward creating the life of your dreams. Examine every aspect of your life, including the digital, domestic, financial, wellness, mental, and social aspects. You're giving yourself the chance to spend a lot of time sorting through the clutter and making room for what you want to materialize by doing this. In essence, you're learning to change your behaviors to support the life you want for yourself. Of course, you can't modify something that you're unaware of. That's where a life edit comes in. Consider a life edit as a reassessment. It's a chance for you to reflect and gauge where your life is at the moment. The greatest method for organizing your room is to remove everything methodically and then only put back what you truly want. With a life edit, you're doing precisely that, but it goes beyond your material possessions. You may see what to let go of and what you ultimately wish to bring in by taking your time and watching your life. Your dreams and realities are getting much closer together. Let's go over 6 areas you'll concentrate on, as well as some advice on how to make the most of your life edit. Edit your obligations. In your life, you frequently accept plenty of ongoing obligations and eventually become slaves to them since you once said yes. Trim back all the commitments you've made as graciously as you can until you have more time for things that are important to you. Change your consumption. How many newspapers and magazines do you receive at home? Do you go over each one cover to cover? Compare it to the time you have to complete the tasks you claim are important to you. Could you imagine not renewing some of these periodicals? What about TV programs? Can you keep your allotted time to a daily maximum of a few hours? Edit your interests. Are you a musician, scrapbooker, artist, filmmaker, fiction writer, baker, or robot builder? Is it possible that your life is an example of the proverb, "The enemy of great is good"? Meaning, would you have more time to concentrate and develop the few hobbies you keep if you gave up those pursuits, even for a 4-month trial period? Edit your spending. In a coffee establishment, a large cup of coffee might cost $6. That's $30 a week or $1,500 plus per year. Could you get something more valuable for a longer time? Are there any areas where a little extra money saved will help you realize your goals? Edit your gifting. People devote a lot of effort to the events that occur throughout holidays. You feel forced to send cards, buy gifts for everyone, and to follow cultural rituals. But what would happen if you did otherwise? Be gracious, as people's emotions are deeply entwined to receiving gifts, but see if you can edit some of this. Adjust your goals. Sure, there are overachievers in the world around you, but are you prepared to pursue the many goals you've set for yourself? Review your life's direction. Is it where you want it to go? Do you want to be an executive at your company? Why? What made you decide to launch your own business? Verify if your objectives are still in line with your actions and consider whether they are consistent with the life you're leading. So, how can you edit? Let's go over a few steps. Step 1, reflect. The best approach to make sure you receive what you need is to be quiet and spend time with your journal, even though a life edit might not seem exciting. Here are some prompts to get you started. What in this area of my life do I desire more of? What is overpowering my mind or time? Do I sense any obstacles preventing me from accomplishing my objectives? What should I emphasize more? What can I let go of? What would it look like to experience more peace? Step 2, recognize that this is or will be an arduous process. I want you to know that this portion of your life edit may take some time. Although there isn't a defined schedule, Take your time and avoid hurrying. Be kind to yourself and practice patience. You frequently underestimate how difficult it can be to let go of things or say goodbye to relationships that no longer benefit you. And facing the facts about your financial life can be a bitter pill to take. And step 3, take action. Decide what aspect of your life you want to focus on first after you've had enough time to contemplate and journal. Get going with what seems to be the easiest and gather steam from there. Spend time going over everything that has anything to do with this area of your life, using responses you wrote in your journal as a guide. Keep in mind that no life edit is the same. Since this is a very intimate and emotional procedure, you could experience stress in certain places while being peaceful in others. That's okay. As you enter this new season of life, you'll feel more in line with and secure about where you're devoting your attention, focus, and energy. The goal of a life edit is to improve your life. It involves putting the unnecessary down. It involves paying more attention to your inner voice. You have an edited life because that is the one you want to live. Obviously, the goal is not to remove items you find valuable. You should look at the life you're living now, assess it, and decide how much of it is excess that should be cut away to make room for the things that matter. So ask yourself, what is editable in your life? If you want to share encouragementology with a friend who needs to know they're not alone in this journey of self-discovery, you can visit encouragementology.com or anywhere you stream your content to receive this episode and all others. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for additional encouragement throughout the week. So I challenge you. Take charge of your happiness by letting go of what no longer serves you and embracing the power of the present. Challenge yourself to rewrite your story, one filled with joy, resilience, and the belief that you deserve a life of fulfillment. I know you can do it. Thank you for listening to Encouragementology with Kendall Boyson, where we find positive ways to handle some of life's challenges.
I stumbled through until the path was clear. That's when I found you and how I wound up here.